March 20, 2024, News Report 1. According to the Associated Press, the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued an order late on March 19, temporarily halting the implementation of a new Texas law targeting illegal immigrants. Just hours earlier, the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled to allow Texas to implement the law. The Supreme Court's decision allows police to arrest illegal immigrants and allows judges to order the deportation of illegal immigrants. The Texas government stated that the purpose of the law is to intimidate illegal immigrants and can sentence them to up to 20 years in apprehension. On January 3, the U.S. federal government sued the Texas state government, alleging that it violated federal government rights and sought to terminate the law. The federal district court ruled in favor of the federal government. Texas then appealed, and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the federal district court's decision, allowing Texas to implement the law. The U.S. federal government was dissatisfied and filed an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court. On March 3, the Supreme Court ruled to allow Texas to implement the law. However, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals again suspended the implementation of the law on March 19. The reason is that a panel of judges in the court voted 2-1 to overturn the Supreme Court's ruling, rendering Texas government's victory void. Although the law was in effect for a few hours, the Texas government did not announce any arrests or indicate whether the law was being enforced. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals will hear from the Texas government this morning. Experts believe that the controversy surrounding this law may continue. The Democratic Party supports immigration, and Texas is one of the areas with the most serious illegal immigration problems, so the legal dispute between them may continue. Following these events will help understand the changes in U.S. immigration laws and policies. News Report 2. According to a survey released by the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institute on March 19, the rating of Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam was 47.4, a decrease of 4.7 points from January, marking the first time she has received an unsatisfactory rating. In the survey, 18% of respondents gave her a score of 0. Regarding the performance of the Hong Kong government, 49% of people said they were dissatisfied, while 38% said they were satisfied. The survey was conducted from March 4 to 7 and interviewed a total of 667 Hong Kong residents. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported that Bank of America plans to no longer lease the first and a half floors of the Central Plaza in Central, Hong Kong, and will only retain office space for meeting clients, with all other staff moving to the Kowloon Trade Center in Kwai Chung. This reduction in office space may be part of a new trend for American companies to respond to Hong Kong's Basic Law Article 23 legislation. On the other hand, some yellow shops in Hong Kong have started to close. Yellow shops do not have a sexual connotation but refer to shops that support and advocate for the universal values of freedom, democracy, and human rights by displaying yellow ribbons. After the enactment of Article 23 of the Basic Law, some yellow shops began to close, and some groups announced their dissolution. One such grocery store, Yin Sui Mi, announced its closure on Instagram on March 19 and will donate the goods sold to impoverished students overseas. Another organization, the Christian Hong Kong Fellowship, also announced its dissolution on Facebook on March 20, stating that it will continue to support Hong Kong people in Taiwan in other ways. News Report 3. Bloomberg reported that the U.S. government is considering adding chip companies related to Huawei to the entity list, including chip manufacturers Qingdao Xineng, Shengweixu, and Shenzhen Pengxin Technology that may be blacklisted. The U.S. Semiconductor Industry Association warned in August 2023 that these three companies are funded by Huawei and are essentially subsidiaries of Huawei, but they are not named after Huawei, aiming to circumvent U.S. sanctions. In addition to these chip-producing companies, the U.S. may also sanction Shenzhen Penjinhao and Zinkalai in Shenzhen, which are intermediary agents helping Huawei purchase these chip equipment. The U.S. government continues to tighten these restrictions to prevent China from acquiring more advanced chip technology. In fact, Although the U.S. government has verbally acted tough, it has been half a year since the end of last year, and these companies have not yet been sanctioned. The core issue is whether Huawei's business model will be affected. Even if the U.S. blocks one company, Huawei can quickly set up another company. In August 2023, Huawei launched the Mate 60 phone and began selling it during Raymond's visit to China, giving Raymond a slap in the face. The U.S. Department of Commerce subsequently took a series of measures to save face, but the effect was not significant. Huawei did not fail to buy chips or equipment, but due to U.S. government sanctions, as a business model, Huawei cannot operate normally. News Report 4. According to a report by Caijing, on the evening of March 19, Vanke announced that it had obtained a loan of 1.4 billion renminbi from Shenzhen Industrial Bank, with a term of 14 years. This loan will be used to repay Vanke's existing mortgage loans and bonds in the open market. Shenzhen Industrial Bank included a series of risk control clauses when approving the loan. This is the second recent funding obtained by Vanke. Previously, Vanke's largest shareholder, Shenzhen Metro, had subscribed to 1 billion renminbi in the Zhongjin Hard Currency Real Estate Investment Trust Fund. As of March 1 this year, Vanke had a total of 38 bonds, including 31 domestic bonds and 8 foreign bonds, with a total maturity amount of 36.1 billion renminbi. The first half of this year is the peak period for the maturity of USD bonds. The United States is now eager to find funds to repay its debts, so it downgraded Vanke's rating from investment grade to junk on March 11. This means that Vanke is no longer able to issue bonds, as their rating has become junk, making it impossible to issue bonds. In addition, Vanke owes money to insurance companies, which are unlikely to lend money to Vanke again. Vanke now has only one option left, which is bank loans. Previously, it was reported that 12 banks had jointly raised an 80 billion yuan syndicated loan for Vanke, mainly to repay the loans of insurance companies. However, the problem now is that Vanke has already sold off its main assets and has almost no collateral available for syndicated loans. Without collateral, syndicated loans cannot be obtained. Currently, either the State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission helps to endorse, but they may not be willing to do so, as they would have to bear the responsibility. Therefore, the possibility of Vanke going bankrupt is high. Their biggest problem now is that houses are not selling, they need to borrow money, but they have no collateral. This is a quite complex financial situation, indicating that Vanke is currently facing huge challenges. They need to manage assets and liabilities carefully to ensure they can weather the storm. In addition, they also need to find solutions to cope with the possible impact of the tightening restrictions by the U.S. government, which will have a significant impact on their future development. News Report 5. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Australian Foreign Minister Maurice Payne held talks in Canberra on March 20. The talks covered issues such as human rights, tariffs, and regional security. A press conference was held after the talks. Payne said that while dialogue cannot eliminate differences, it can manage them. For the benefit of Australia, the Australian government will wisely manage these differences. He raised Australia's concerns about human rights in China, including those in Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong, as well as China's concerns about human rights of Chinese in Australia, including the sentencing of Australian Chinese writer Yang Hengjuan. Wang expressed concerns about China's actions in the South China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and the Pacific region. During the talks, Wang said that China has always pursued an independent foreign policy, and independence should also be the main principle of Australia's foreign policy, without being influenced or interfered with by third parties. Both sides confirmed that Chinese Premier Li Keqiang will visit Australia later this year. It was noted that Australia's remarks at the press conference seemed unfriendly, contrasting sharply with Wang's statements. News Report 6. The European Union Chamber of Commerce in China released a report on March 20 entitled, Awareness of Risks, the Political Significance of Economic Security. The report pointed out that European companies in China are facing exponentially growing political risks, forcing them to allocate excessive resources to risk management rather than increasing market share, thus harming efficiency and innovation, while also increasing costs for consumers. 55% of European companies said that the business environment has become more politicized. 75% of companies have established more diversified supply chains, with 12% moving most of their production overseas. In addition, 1% of companies have severed all ties with China. A senior executive of a European manufacturing company said that the company's market share in China has dropped from 35% to 0%, and China has trapped the company in a geopolitical trap. Mats Harborn, chairman of the European Chamber, said that building business relationships with Europe is in China's interest, but currently, these relationships are facing risks. China is implementing trade protectionism in a wide range of areas, forcing Europe to take more protective measures. News Report 7. The People's Bank of China updated the composition of the Monetary Policy Committee on March 19, out of 14 members, have exited, including the chairman of the Political Consultative Conference and retired economist Liu Shijing, the deputy director of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences Liu Shijin, and the deputy director Kai Fang. In addition, People's Bank of China Vice President Liu Guoqiang also appears to be exiting soon. At the same time, 4 new members have joined, including the new chairman of the China Securities Regulatory Commission Wu Qing, People's Bank of China Vice President Xian Changnan, director of the Digital Finance Research Center at Peking University Huang Yiping, and specially appointed professor at Tsinghua University School of Finance Huang Haizhou. The Monetary Policy Committee was established in 1997, with the current chairman being People's Bank of China Governor Pan Gongsheng. The committee was originally modeled after the Federal Reserve, but due to changes in the identity of the People's Bank of China governor, the committee has transitioned from a decision-making body to a consultative body. News Report 8. The Washington Post published an article by commentator Jennifer Rubin on March 19, pointing out that officials who were once colleagues of former President Trump have an obligation to warn voters that it is necessary to prevent Trump from returning to power because it is necessary for the country. The article mentions several Republican figures, including former Vice President Pence, former Secretary of Defense Esper, former Attorney General Barr, and former White House Chief of Staff Kelly, who have all said that Trump has mental problems and a vile character. Kelly said that Trump once praised Hitler and admired dictators. Kelly also revealed that during his tenure as White House Chief of Staff, he secretly purchased a book called The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, which is an assessment of Trump's mental health by 27 psychologists. Esper expressed dissatisfaction with Trump's plan to deploy troops in the streets of Washington, D.C., and suggested shooting at American citizens. Barr believes that Trump is a complete narcissist who acts recklessly and is very petty. These colleagues' negative evaluations of Trump may have some influence on voters. News Report 9. According to Voice of America, Chinese media have deleted a speech by Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission of the Communist Party of China He Weidong on cracking down on the false combat capabilities within the military. The report stated that He Weidong made the speech on March 9 at a meeting of the National People's Congress and the Armed Police Delegation, emphasizing the need to crack down on the false combat capabilities within the military, continue the fight against corruption, and resolutely correct formalism and bureaucracy. However, the speech by He Weidong cannot be found on public media such as Xinhua News Agency, China Central Television, China Military Network, and China Daily. Analysts pointed out that He Weidong's remarks actually confirmed the problem of the PLA exaggerating its combat capabilities and exposed the corruption within the PLA. Shen Mingshi of the Taiwan Institute for National Defense and Security Studies said that He Weidong's reference to false combat capabilities may refer to training fraud, which is exaggerating combat capabilities. He also pointed out that the PLA excessively praises the strength of its self-made weapons, such as the performance of the fifth-generation fighter J-20 surpassing that of the US F-22, and the performance of China's third aircraft carrier, the Fujian, with electromagnetic catapults surpassing that of the US Ford class. News Report 10. Apple CEO Tim Cook posted on Weibo on March 20, saying he is visiting Shanghai. He took a walk on the Bund with Chinese actor Zheng Kai and tasted traditional Shanghai breakfast. Apple will open another retail store in Jing'an district of Shanghai on March 21, and Cook's visit is for the opening of this new store. This visit is mainly to address the issue of declining iPhone sales in the Chinese market. A report by a market research firm shows that iPhone sales in China dropped by 24% in the first 2 months. In the first half of 2024, iPhone sales in China dropped by 24%, reducing its market share in the smartphone market to 15.7%, ranking 4th. Analysts believe that Apple is facing fierce competition from Huawei in the high-end market, while also being affected by the intense price war among brands such as Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi. Cook visited China twice in 2023, but due to the economic downturn in China and limited purchasing power of the people, iPhone is considered too expensive for Chinese consumers. Therefore, the decline in iPhone sales is not surprising. At the same time, there are also problems with the performance of the iPhone, as new features have not brought enough surprises and have not helped sales. News Report 11. The traffic police in Shaanxi announced that a bus crashed into the wall of the Shijia Tower Tunnel on March 19, causing a tragedy with 14 deaths and 37 injuries. The accident killed 14 people, including the driver, and the front of the vehicle was severely deformed. The police said that the accident vehicle was a tourist bus with a Hunan license plate, with a capacity of 54 people, but actually carrying 51 people. The starting point of the Hubei Expressway is Hohhot, passing through Shaanxi, Hunan, Hubei, and the end point is Beihai, Guangxi, with a total length of 2,700 kilometers. The cause of the accident is still under investigation, and the expressway has resumed normal traffic. News Report 12. The United Nations released the 2024 World Happiness Report on March 20, but its reliability has been questioned. The report shows that the top 5 happiest countries are Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and Israel. However, some people find it somewhat ridiculous that Israel ranks 5th, especially considering that Israel is currently in a state of war. He believes that the United Nations report lacks credibility because the rankings are not reasonable. The indicators used in the report include social assistance, income, healthy life expectancy, freedom index, generosity, and corruption. According to these indicators, China ranks 60th and Hong Kong ranks 86th. However, some people believe that these rankings are unreasonable because China does not have social assistance, the income is not high, the freedom index is low, the generosity is limited, and the corruption is serious. Therefore, he questioned the accuracy of the report and expressed doubts about the value of the United Nations in this regard.